Hi everybody. Today we're going to go over the Wrangler role. Basically, that's how to manage entry into the Zoom room. Your role as Wrangler is to ensure that only the authorized people are in the Zoom room at any given time, and that's to avoid the risk of Zoom bombing. Secondly, you're going to create an accurate list of attendees so that you can follow up with emails to solicit feedback or provide additional information. In order to carry out the function of Wrangler, you'll need a contact list for all of the people who are involved in the production itself. So that's a list that would include the hosts, the presenters, and the tech lead. Secondly, you're going to need an extract of the guests who've been registered using an application like Eventbrite. And thirdly, you're going to need a cell phone number. That will be the cell phone that you use in order to deal with any issues when people can't get into the Zoom room, they're having trouble in the waiting room. This process that I'm going to describe will be assuming that you let people in at the beginning of the event and they are expected to stay throughout. So to begin with, before the rehearsal and event, make sure that you've confirmed the cell number and the cell phone that will be used in the waiting room page. Secondly, before the event, review the master schedule and contact list. You'll want to highlight the names or make a list of those who will be allowed into the Zoom room before the guests. That's the host, facilitator, tech people. Most of these will not be on the Eventbrite registration extract because they won't use Eventbrite to register. At that point, also note the time that you're supposed to let the guests in. Thirdly, prior to the event, probably about an hour before, create a Google spreadsheet to track the registrants who will be attending. You're going to do that by getting the extract from Eventbrite, which has information you don't need, and loading the information you do need, the columns that you do need, into an extract to which you've also added a column that you can use to mark the attendance. This is what you'll use throughout the process of letting people in. So you'll want to make sure that you have both the list of tech and presenters and also the registrants list ready to hand. You may want to print these out if you don't have enough screen space or an additional piece of equipment so that you can have them open while you're letting people in. Once the Zoom room is opened, you're letting initially only those who are identified as tech or presenters, and you'll want to mark them off as you let them in. You may need to flag if some people are missing because the tech lead may have asked you to alert if they need to be contacted to find out what their problem is, why they aren't able to attend. At the appointed time, you'll start letting guests in, and you'll do it using the spreadsheet that you created, and you'll do it by putting the appropriate X next to the row for the person who has been identified and allowed into the room. As people start entering the Zoom room, you'll want to put a message into the waiting room chat that just advises them that if they have not used the same name as they registered with the Eventbrite, they need to leave, fix their Zoom name, and re-enter the waiting room. So the process of entering this message will look like this. To begin with, you're going to see a guest has been entered into the waiting room, and you may not know how to identify them. They are not using the appropriate name. So what you're going to do is copy this message into the chat so that they can see it. And then what you're going to do, and that will give them a view like this. So they will be able to see that you've advised whoever's in the waiting room that if their Zoom name isn't the same as that which they registered under, they need to leave, same message. And this will also be part of the message on the splash page. So lots of information for them, but they may still not actually be able to handle the process of getting back out and fixing their Zoom. So you may find that you've got people in the waiting room that you can't identify and they're not leaving, in which case you'll need to remove them from the waiting room. And you do that by toggling the remove option next to their names. Some of them will, of course, phone you or text you, but some of them may not come back, which is unfortunate. Stay alert during the whole event because you may have to let people in if they accidentally leave or they have to leave and they have to get back in. So it's good to have your lists handy throughout the whole event. At the close stage, you're going to remove all the participants according to whatever you've decided for your production. And to do that, next to each name, you'll have a remove option. You may also choose to close the meeting and then have a re-entry for people who are going to be debriefing if you do an immediate debrief. Your last task before you can complete your role is for you to go to your spreadsheet, which is now full of all sorts of toggles indicating that people were present, and you're just going to select the columns and use the data function to sort so that you have a list of those present. That's it. You've done your job, and you can send the link to the spreadsheet that's been sorted to whoever it is who might be doing a follow-up email.